Today I am starting a new series called Basics of Fishing, and pretty much what I'm going to do is start from the very beginning and then kind of work my way up to a little bit more advanced. But for now, we're going to start out with the basic and simplest thing. A lot of people, when they start out, they go to a spinning reel, or they try to start out a little bit too complicated. So what I'm going to try to do is try to teach you that it's okay to start from the very beginning. I started whenever I was 2-3 years old, and I had a piece of string tied onto my finger with a hook on it, and that's how I got started. And so I think that a lot of times it's a lot simpler just to just keep it simple and go with and start small. There's nothing wrong with starting small. Everybody, you see these videos of people and they're wanting to catch these huge bass, but what you have to realize, it's a process, and the process is to start simple. So what I have here is just a regular old cane pole that I've modified. It was about 13 feet long when I first got it. It's a telescoping rod. So it starts out small and it telescopes out. But it started out, it was 13 feet, and I cut out a section of it to make it a little bit shorter. So now it's about 10 feet. That's all you need. And it's got a bobber right here. I've got about a 10-pound braid on the tip here, and I've got some probably about 10-pound fluorocarbon leader on it, and then I've got the bobber about 2 feet above the hook, and I've got just a regular old brim hook on it with a snap swivel and a little pinch weight on it, just to make sure that it brings the bait down. But pretty much all you're doing with this, and the line is about the length of the rod, and so all you're really doing with this is just starting small, going after the small bluegill, and that's pretty much the gist of it. And now I'm gonna show you how to use it. When looking for a spot, look for an area that is relatively shallow, preferably with shade. Also listen for kissing noises on the surface. That's usually a dead giveaway that bluegill are nearby. To start off, you want to have your bobber about 2 feet above the hook. Adjust up or down depending on the time of year, but when they are biting good, 2 feet is a good depth. To bait your hook, grab a whole worm and thread it onto your hook. Sometimes it helps to leave the tail hanging off. This can entice fish to bite. This may be a case of personal preference, but I usually put a big enough weight on to sink the hook but not stand my cork up, where the bait won't drop like a rock but just slowly fall. I prefer my bobber laying on its side, and when a fish hits it, the bobber stands up, and then you know it's about time to pull up. Also, using a small weight, it doesn't make a huge splash when it hits the water. That way it kind of makes it sound like a bait fish in distress and sound more natural. So after being in the first spot about 15 or 20 minutes, I realized that small fish were just stealing my bait, so I decided to move to another spot that had more of a natural bank and a little bit more shade. So as you can see here, I'm just kind of fanning out my casting and hitting all the areas that I can reach with my pole. I don't let it sit very long. I kind of just let it sit there for a few seconds. If I haven't had a bite, I'll kind of move it a little bit. A lot of times that will get their attention. But you never know, because sometimes you might want to just let it sit there for a little while. So just try, it's just trial and error, and just try a few different things and see if what might trigger them. Okay, so it took me about 30 minutes to realize that no good-sized fish were in that shallower water. So I decided to go ahead and move out, and this area was in the shade, and the water was about 8 feet deep, and I was fishing about 2 feet down, and finally realized that something was chasing it. And so I knew that there was fish nearby, and so I just decided to go ahead and focus on this area for a good amount of time. So at this point, I realize that there's fish here, but for some reason they're not hitting it just by it sitting still. So I'm moving it around just to try to get their attention and see if they might be willing to chase something. Bingo, I got one. It's a small one, but it's not what I'm looking for, but it's a good start. As you can see here, whenever my bobber goes under, I just pull up. I'm not setting the hook like maybe they would do in like bass fishing, just pulling up just very lightly. So I'm putting these fish in the live well, even the small ones, because I've got a pond, and I put those in the pond, and I can use those at a later time for bait, or when people come over, they can have fish to catch. I've also got a worm farm, so that way I can have free bait anytime I want it. It was weird fishing with a cane pole because every once in a while I would reach up like I was trying to grab the handle of my reel, but it wasn't even there. This really was one of those slow fishing days. We had a lot of rain right before that, so the water was real muddy and those fish just seemed to be shut down. Although I'm fishing from a boat today, you can still do the same kind of fishing from the bank. So there it is, guys. About the simplest way that you can go fishing using a cane pole. This was, probably bought this one for about $15 to $20 at Walmart. And I've had it for several years now, and it has really held up. Made a few modifications, put a hand grip here, put another hand grip here if I wanted to choke up on it, and that has really come in handy, especially if I'm wanting to catch some bait fish. In this one spot I probably caught about 10 brim, and they were all small, but we are post Brim's bluegill spawn right now, so that's why all the small brim are pretty much taken over and highly aggressive. But once the small ones either get eaten by bass, bigger predatory fish, or they or they just get done feeding their feeding frenzy, the bigger bluegill will start biting, and that's what I like to do. Even as much fishing as I've done in my life, I've done a lot of saltwater bass fishing, catfishing, a lot of other fishing. I still love going brim fishing. It's just a blast for me, especially whenever they're really aggressive and they're biting. And there's a lot of different types of bluegill that you can target too, and my favorite is red ears. So maybe in a future video I will do a video of catching red ears. That's a lot of fun, and it's a little bit of a different method, but this is the simplest way to do it. And you don't have to go and buy a $30, $50 rod combo setup. Keep it simple, at least for until you get a hang of it. And you don't have to worry about a reel getting jammed up, giving you trouble. I've seen a lot of people just starting out that have had problems with those spin casts or spinning reels and stuff like that. So might as well just make it simple, start here, catch a few, get your confidence, and you never know what will come after that. So I appreciate you guys tuning in and watching my video, and I guess I'll see you guys next time. All right, fish just splashed over there.